woman murdered inside her house. A man shot by 3 armed goons outside his residence. Both instances coming out of Delhi. Delhi, the national capital where crime seems to be on a constant rise. The question we are asking on Mirror now is, are we no longer safe in our own homes? Good evening and welcome to the news. I'm Avni Raja. Let's take a look at the headlines. Tamil Nadu government issues an advisory after the first case of Zika virus was reported in the state. This is the 4th case of Zika reported in the country. In the Reliance Jio data breach case, Mumbai police have arrested a man in Rajasthan. Breach could put data of about 120 million Jio subscribers at stake. Beep out words like cow, Hindu, Gujarat and India, says the censor board to Suman Ghosh, director of a documentary on Amartya Sen. Ghosh refuses to make changes. As a result, the film shall not be released in Kolkata. BSP Neta's daughter whips her child's classmates in school, storms in with armed guards. Is the Neta's relative above the law? Heavy rains continues to pound most parts of Uttarakhand. Roads flooded in Dehradun, educational institutes closed in Chamoli and Rudraprayag. Tomato prices in Mumbai have become costlier, sold at 100 rupees per kilo. Shopkeepers blaming dipping supply for the price hike. Fringe group in Tamil Nadu demand Kamal Hassan's arrest for hosting Tamil Big Boss. Say the actor has been tarnishing Tamil Nadu's image and culture. Actor Vikram Chatterjee's bail plea has been rejected. This comes a day after Chatterjee was sent to 14 days judicial remand for the murder of Sonika Chauhan in Kolkata. A 53-year-old woman murdered inside her own house. A man assaulted and then shot by 3 armed goons outside his own residence. And just last week, a 21-year-old aspiring air hostess stabbed to death outside her home by a man and his 2 associates, even after her family claimed that they had already complained to the police about the accused. These are all instances coming from our national capital. This is the very real situation of law and order in Delhi. And these are the instances that prove how criminals and murderers are operating without fear. We on Mirror Now are asking, are we no longer safe in our own homes? And when will the government take action? When will we see a change? Let's first go to Delhi's densely populated Uttam Nagar, where a murder was caught on CCTV. In the visuals on your screens, you can see at least 5 men assaulting a man right outside his own house. Then 3 of them fire shots at him, killing him, following which all 5 barge into the man's house and thrash a woman. Now, even though the CCTV footage of the assault has been retrieved, the police have so far managed to make only 2 arrests in the case.
The visuals you see in front of your screens right now, this is the kind of lawlessness that is going on around Delhi. And this incident happened in Uttam Nagar. It's a colony in Uttam Nagar, wherein the incident took place on Sunday night. And it wasn't that late at night as well. At around 10 o'clock, few men, they entered a lane wherein the family was sitting outside their homes, and these boys, these men, they just came in. As you can see, they are casually walking in. One of them is holding a gun in his hand, and there's a skirmish between the 2 parties there, and he fires 1 round of shot in the air. You can see some soil or some mud falling down, and then he goes inside the house, thrashes the man sitting outside on the house, goes inside, thrashes the wife of this man, and comes out again, fires 3 rounds of shots again, moves out, and then he casually walks back again to check on his victims. So none of this, you don't even see these people, these criminals running away, and all of this has been caught in a CCTV footage that was accessed by the police while they were investigating. 2 people have been arrested in this case, Pradeep and Praveen, both of who are 23 and 25-year-olds. So they're young men in possession of a weapon, and there's nothing that the family could do about. And the skirmish was about some money that the victims had taken from the accused, and this is how the events unfolded.
Footage that you can see on your screens of young men with weapons attacking the man who was shot outside his house. Moving on, let's now move focus to South Delhi, where a 53-year-old woman was murdered. The 3 accused, including the main conspirators, have been arrested. Also, jewellery worth 30 lakhs has been recovered. Now, to remind you viewers, the woman was murdered inside her residence in South Delhi's Amar Colony yesterday. The victim was at her residence along with her the 2 domestic help, while her husband and her son were out for work when the incident took place.
3 accused in this case, including the main accused, who is the servant, has been arrested by the police at 4 a.m. today from Noida. That's what we are hearing at the moment. But of course, more information will come out once they start with the interrogation, because the motive here clearly looks like a case of robbery, because they stole cash as well as jewelry worth 3 to 8 lakh rupees, and now all of these materials have been recovered by the police. But what is even more shocking is the fact that the entire crime in New Delhi has been on the rise, and as you're rightly pointing out, there has been cases after cases. And if we specifically talk about this particular case, this happened yesterday in Delhi's Amar Colony area, where a 53-year-old woman who was there with 2 of her servants, and this group of 3 to 4 men entered her house. It wasn't a break-in, because the police first suspected the involvement of one of the servants, who was the main accused in this case, Roshan, who was absconding immediately after this incident took place. Now, they entered the house, they first tied up the servant, and then they went on to manhandle the woman first, and then they looted the house, and in that process, they even strangulated her to death. The entire case was then brought up to the police when the husband came home at around 3 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. That is when this entire incident was brought to light, following which CCTV footage from that area in National Park was taken, and then all these accused were finally arrested today morning at 4 a.m. We will get more details on the case in some time once the police gives out details and also holds a press conference in some time.
Here's what the police had to say.
मौके के समय घर में महिला जिनका नाम सरिता, उम्र 53 साल, अपने 2 नौकरों के साथ मौजूद थी, जिसमें से एक नौकर का नाम राजन है, जो करीबन 2-3 महीने से इनके यहाँ पे काम कर रहा है, और दूसरा नौकर जो पिछले 2 हफ्ते पहले जिसने ज्वाइन किया है, जिसका नाम रोशन है, इनके साथ मौजूद थी। घर के अंदर 3 से 4 लड़के, जिनका नंबर अभी क्लियर नहीं हो पाया, 3 से 4 लड़के एंट्री करते हैं। फ्रेंडली एंट्री होती है, और घुसते ही सबसे पहले जो राजन नाम का नौकर है उसको बांध देते हैं। जो घर में महिला मौजूद थी सरिता, उनको ओवर पावर करते हैं, उनको भी बांध देते हैं। बांध के गए हुए थे तो इसकी कॉल करने की स्थिति नहीं थी। इसमें जब परिवार के जो मेल मेंबर हैं, मनक लाल, जिनकी वाइफ है सरिता, जब भी ये फरीदाबाद से वापस लौटे और अपनी चाबी से उन्होंने घर खोला, तब इन्होंने पाया कि घर को रैंसैक किया गया है, और उनकी जो पत्नी है वो घर में। घर की बाकी सदस्य सब।
It did not seem like a forced entry, is what DCP Banya clearly says. One of the domestic help, whose name was Rajan, had been working only for a few months. Did the house help collude with the attackers? This is almost similar of the case of a driver attacking his ex-employer in South Delhi a few months back. The question that we're asking again and again is that, are we safe in our own homes, and are the people we are employing as maids and nannies and chauffeurs without verification? Let's go across to Kavita Srivastav, who's an activist who's joining me on the phone line. Kavita, thanks so much for joining in. three different cases that we've just seen. One was last week, a 21-year-old girl was stabbed in broad daylight, and the other two that you just heard, 53-year-old woman murdered by the house help, and a man shot by 3 armed men just outside his house. The big question is that, what across the board, what seems to be is that they don't have any fear of the consequences of their actions. And this is not petty theft that we're talking about, this is murder.
Yes, yes. Actually, there seems to be absolute impunity as far as, these killers and murderers in Delhi are concerned. They're clear, they're absolutely clear that nothing is going to affect them. And therefore, they're committing this crime. It speaks more about how the union government, under whom the Delhi police is, the Home Minister Rajnath Singh, under whom the Delhi police is, it's quite disturbing that they've not done a single act to say that they have in some ways made Delhi police, they strengthened Delhi police in order to nab such criminals or put the fear of God in criminals. Not a single act done by the union government, either for the Delhi police or for the larger criminal justice system. It's the two together, actually, that work. The police and the judiciary together that work towards efficient system of, a robust law and order system. So, hello, nothing. Hello.
Yes, Kavita, go on. I can hear you.
My take on this is that there is so much lawlessness because in the last 3.5 years, this has been a completely unaddressed area. And whenever people have raised this question, I mean, the murders, of course, are very, very disturbing. But look at every other day there's an incident of lynching, every other day. And nothing seems to be happening because this is not a priority for the Modi government that Delhi have a proper law and order situation, or this country, learn something from some new principles of, how policing ought to happen, how criminals, cannot be living with this kind of impunity.
Right.
Nothing has been done. I mean, this is a non-issue for this government. Security of the people is a non-issue.
Right. Kavita, do stay on the line with us. I'm also going to go across to Aishwarya Bhati, who's also joining me. Aishwarya, thank you for joining in. The same question to you. The clear thing that seems to be common, the common link, the common thread running across all these crimes and murders is the fact that nobody has the fear of the consequences of their action, fear of the law.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I have always maintained that, whenever anybody is indulging in an act of crime, then they are not really thinking what is the, justice delivery system or how that particular act is defined under the Indian Penal Code as an offence. What they are thinking at that time is that they will go scot-free, they will not be caught, and they won't have to pay for it. So that is where the importance of the law, the police machinery is that, that accused should not go scot-free at that time. Over the years, governance has shown such low priority for law and order issues. I'm not saying that there won't be issues if law and order is without any slackness. There would be offences. It's in the best of the developed countries also offences happen. But how we deal with those offences, how quick is our reaction time, how much access does a common citizen have to to reporting these offences, how quickly can they get respite from the authorities. I think we have to now start thinking of how we judge our citizens, how we respect our citizens, and the happiness index and what is the happiness quotient in our country, which of course cannot coexist with crime.
Right.
So priority has to be high.
Aishwarya, I just in fact read the reports coming in that we've seen of police looking to ban late night parties, and I want both your inputs on this, that police are looking to ban late night parties in Hoskas, saying that such parties disrupt the law and order situation. The shocking part is the kind of solutions that the police are really coming out is to just stop people's movement, and this is a absolutely ridiculous solution. Aishwarya, you first.
I think this reflects on the thought process and the maturity level of the police agency, if they are indeed thinking of a solution like this. This does not reflect on citizens at all. This does not even reflect on antisocial elements who want to indulge in crime. All right, then you just might as well shut your cities down. Shut down the cities that they are unmanageable. We can't run the cities. If you can't run the cities, might as well just say that. And these kind of solutions in today's date and time, I mean, it could not have happened in anywhere. But to say that don't have late night parties, which times are we living in? I'm shocked and appalled that this kind of a situation or solution would come from the police authorities who are responsible. You can't do your job, then please just let somebody else who can do the job.
Kavita, your thoughts on your reaction to this shocking solution by the police? So
it just shows the mindset of the police that when it is unable to respond to the situation, in the law and order situation or the increasing criminality, rather than reflect on its tools, on its beat police, on its mechanisms, on its systems, it's trying to now put the blame on the people, on the citizens. And therefore, take away the autonomy, begin moral policing. What do you mean? Shut nighttime parties. After all, the crimes are happening even in the daytime. Equal number of crimes are happening in the daytime. The woman was stabbed in broad daylight. So I don't think this is the solution. This is again knee-jerk reaction. They don't have a policy. As I said in the beginning, there's not been that kind of an engagement where the government sat and said that law and order is a priority and all kinds of crimes, including sexual crimes against women, which are on the increase in Delhi. I mean, every year the NCRB is showing a real high increase. None of that. No thinking about it. No new policies. Your helplines are all gone. I mean, just look at the mechanism. How effective are these helplines? Do they really respond? Where are your CCTV cameras? Which they said that they're going to ensure. So none of that. What about the beat police? The beat police is supposed to, of that area, is supposed to have an engagement with every citizen and know what's happening in that area. At least have a list of criminals of that area. So none of that. So when you don't want to, strengthen your own response mechanism, your own policy, your own way of functioning, you then blame the citizens. So you lock them in your homes. That's your reply.
Aishwarya, coming back to you, going back to one of the three cases that we were just talking about, the 53-year-old woman who was murdered by the domestic help. Again, this isn't the first time. There have been several instances of similar instances. Now, most societies demand made it compulsory for police verification to take place. Do you think that solution, that is really a solution? Is that something that helps really, or is it just more paperwork that sort of gets buried?
No, I think police verification is a good step. It is a proactive, preventive step. Of course, it cannot be foolproof. You can't say that, police verification means that it's a guarantee that the crime will not be committed by that person. There are different levels of crime and there are different motives of crime. I'm not even for even saying that there can be elimination of crime from our lives. The crime exists everywhere. It exists. It has existed with civilization. It will exist with civilization. What is really appalling is the kind of reaction that the law enforcement agencies give, the kind of priority that they give. That it's so shoddy. I mean, today, it continues to be so for several years. Sane-minded people, normal citizens. If you talk about a common citizen of India, a common citizen of Delhi on the streets, he's very afraid to go and report even an incident that happens with that person because the police is just not friendly.
Absolutely.
The police does not inspire the confidence in a common citizen to walk up to the police authorities to say. So there is something that has been drastically wrong with our police delivery system for a long time, and it must be fixed because we can't allow this to carry on with with the impunity and shamelessness that it has continued for the
Kavita,
last 70
it's in
years.
fact a very important point that Aishwarya was just mentioning with regards to the fact that these are only the reported cases. There are several others, and these are murders, but there are several other cases, several instances where people just don't have the courage or, you know, the comfort to go to a police station to report a crime that has been committed against them. And that itself is such a big issue that needs to be taken up.
Absolutely. Actually, whether it is Delhi police or any other police, they don't have a kind of citizen and an engagement with citizens where they try to build confidence regarding, you know, that they are very friendly, that people can access them. They don't try to work with citizens to build that kind of, relationship with citizens. And therefore, and of course, it's not just the fear of the citizens. Actually, reports don't get written by the police. Now, let me tell you, there have been umpteen, let's not just box in the dark. There have been umpteen police commission reports and Supreme Court orders. The Supreme Court order after 2006 in the Prakash Singh case very clearly said separate the law and order machinery from the investigative machinery. Very clearly they said it. Of the time you have police, doing some sort of law and order somewhere, an investigation just doesn't happen. Now, even that simple division, because that means bringing in more police personnel. You don't want to invest in your internal security. You don't want to, give more personnel. You don't want to give better training. You don't want to have the latest ways of responding to it. So our police, the criminals, of course, may be better equipped than even our police, for that matter. And that includes the Delhi police. And even today, you have police which is in 24-hour duty. Even today, they're not on 8-hourly, shifts. All the police are not doing 24 hours because you have reduction in personnel. So actually, there has to be an all-round response. Citizen, police, interaction, exchanges, which have to build confidence in the people. Then the Thana must show us that response, that they actually do register our cases, are willing to listen to us. And third is to actually do the reform that is pending for the last 1980s, when your police commission reports came in 2006. Then the whole thing was consolidated by the Supreme Court. It's time that it got implemented. Otherwise, we are heading, very soon it will be 2025 and it will be exactly in 1980s where the whole process began.
Right. All right. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Kavita and Aishwarya, for joining in. Relief for the leather industry and farmers, the Supreme Court has ordered a nationwide stay on the central government's new cattle slaughter notification. The Supreme Court observed that livelihoods cannot be subjected to uncertainties. Let's first bring you up to speed on the case. On May 29th, the centre issued a notification stating that no one can bring cattle to an animal market unless he or she has furnished a written declaration that the cattle will not be sold for the purpose of slaughter. Further, upon sale of the cattle, the Animal Market Committee will take an undertaking that the animals are for agricultural purposes only and not for slaughter. This announcement sparked protests across the country, and Mirror Now also raised the question of job losses and trade losses that will be incurred on account of the ban. To discuss that is the notification as far the Supreme Court stayed the order on the central government's notification of the cattle slaughter notification by the central government on the 29th of May. Joining. Listen, what are you saying? That's the. Basically, it's a major relief for the leather industry and farmers. The Supreme Court had ordered a nationwide stay on the central government's new cattle slaughter notification. Stay on the central. The Supreme Court observed that livelihoods cannot be subject to uncertainties. On the 29th of May, the centre issued a notification stating that no one can bring cattle to an animal market unless he or she has furnished a written declaration that the cattle will not be sold for the purpose of slaughter. Now, further, upon the sale of cattle, the Animal Market Committee To discuss all of this and more, I'm now joined by eminent lawyer Kapil Sibal. Mr. Sibal, don't you think that the government was a bit hasty bringing about the earlier law?
No, I think that at the very inception, to frame rules under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, where slaughtering is allowed, all that is required under the Act is that in the course of slaughtering, you must not, the animal must not suffer excessive pain, or you must not brutalize the animal while slaughtering him. That's why the Act was framed. Now, you can't have rules under the Act which actually prohibit slaughtering when the Act itself permits it. So, ex facie, the rules were unconstitutional.
So do you see this as an embarrassment to the government, where the government had to concede before the Supreme Court that there are loopholes really that need to be looked at?
I think you're asking a very odd question, because this government is never embarrassed on doing anything. So therefore, to think that this government will ever be embarrassed, is a non-starter. But the fact of the matter is that the government realized that first a court in Madurai had stayed the order, and this would create a lot of complications. Then, of course, they must have got representations from all over the country, because they've destroyed the livelihood of millions of people who really rely on this trade for everyday living. And I think those representations must also have come to them. And then politically, this is not something that would clearly would help them. So therefore, I think they decided to tell the Supreme Court, look, we're looking into it, it'll take some time, we'll put an alternative mechanism in place, we don't want to violate the order, we don't mind the Madurai court staying the order, and all that wishy-washy things that they normally say in court when they're on a back foot.
The Supreme Court made the observation categorically on how this entire issue concerns the livelihood of many people. But even at this point, there seems to be no clarity going forward.
First of all, this is within the dominion of the state, because the state has exclusive right to deal with markets. The union has no right to deal with markets. So therefore, and in fact, in West Bengal, there is a special legislation in respect to slaughter of animals. So it's exclusively within the field of the state legislature. So any attempt by the Union of India actually to interfere in that process will be unconstitutional. And I think that they're trying to grapple with that problem.
Now, going forward, do you think that the reprieve from the Supreme Court is going to bring some semblance of order into the lives of these traders?
I think that people are very worried. In fact, a lot of traders are concerned, because remember, when cattle are sold or animals are sold, they're sold in mandis. And in 2 animals, somebody brings 3 animals, somebody brings 4 animals, and most of these people are not very literate people. So under the rules that were framed, they had to give affidavits that they have not brought them for slaughtering. The person who purchased the animal had to give an affidavit that he has not purchased it for slaughtering. And you can't expect people who sell animals in the mandi to start giving affidavits. So this is wholly impractical law, and obviously there was not much thought was given to it when the rules were formulated.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Sibil, for joining in and speaking to Mirror Now. With that, it's a wrap on this bulletin. Stay tuned to Mirror Now.